We're going to start Chapter 12, Application Problem. This is on page 304 of your book. We're going to work through all of the application problems together. Maybe you've done this already. Maybe you have an opportunity to maybe copy and paste from some of the stuff that you've done in the sections of Chapter 12. You can paste into your Excel spreadsheet or copy and paste into it. What I would recommend first is to download all of these files that you see here for this assignment. So you said files, you see files that you need to download. I would open all of these up and save them to your H drive right off the bat and have them all open. And you notice down here I've got quite a few open here, and we're going to work through this pretty quickly and try to get through it as fast as we possibly can. Okay, so make sure that you do have these files open. It'll make things a little bit easier for you. We're going to start with 12-1, the application problem, and what this has to do with is posting from the purchases journal to accounts payable ledger. These are your subsidiary accounts. Anything that's in the purchases journal is we've purchased merchandise on account. You see the purchase numbers here should be recorded from your invoices. This is after we've posted this information to our individual subsidiary ledgers. We're going to again come back and post the ledger account number in the journal to prove that we posted these amounts. So this is the first step, and the first thing that we're going to work with is the accounts payable ledger. Now what I want you to do is anytime that you open up these, if you haven't already noticed, you always have to click enable editing. Okay. We fixed that, I believe, on all of the Microsoft Excel documents that we open. But here's what I want you to do. First, you're going to File, New. We're going to create a blank workbook. Okay. Notice that you have these three worksheets down at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and rename these. Right-click on Sheet 1, Rename, and we're going to name it Healthy Nutrition Accounts Payable. Let's just put it this. It's not letting me do any symbols here. Accounts Payable Ledger. Hit enter. Let's go to sheet 2 and let's put rename Healthy Nutrition Accounts Receivable Ledger. Let's go to sheet 3, right click, rename AP Accounts Payable Schedule. This is going to be your schedule of accounts. Let's go ahead and add another one. Let's rename this one Accounts Receivable AR Schedule. Let's go ahead and create another one, rename it, and title this one General Ledger. So we're going to have our individual subsidiary accounts for our accounts payable, accounts receivable, our accounts payable ledger schedule, and our accounts receivable ledger schedule, and then our general ledger. Now let's go ahead and take this tab. If you just click your left mouse and hold it down and drag it over, let's move it to right here. Let's put our AP schedule after our ledger account. So we want it right here. Notice the little arrow at the top, and this is how I want it to look. Let's go ahead and right click, tab color. Let's make this one something different. Blue. Let's make this one tab color yellow. This one goes with accounts payable, so let's make this one yellow too. This one goes with accounts receivable, so let's make this one some kind of orange. And let's make this one some kind of orange. There we go. So that they're color coordinated. Again, this is how it should look. I don't care what colors you use. You can also format these tabs. But this is going to be our main healthy nutrition spreadsheet / workbook for the application problems. Okay. So let's go to the application problems. We're going to take the purchases journal. Anything that's recorded in the purchases journal, again, as we purchase merchandise on account, the two accounts affected are purchases debit and accounts payable credit. This means that we owe them at a later time. It's coming from P10 or page 10 of the purchases journal. Let's go ahead and create some of these accounts in our accounts payable ledger. Okay, so here's what we're going to do first. We're going to go to our accounts payable ledger. Again, these are all the files that you downloaded already or have open already. We're going to hit Control C. Or actually, we're going to click this button right here next to A1, which will select everything. Control C copies. You notice this running dotted line means that we're copying something. We're going to go into our accounts payable ledger. Click this button again and hit Control V as in Victor, or you can also right click and choose paste. So these are all going to be our vendors that we purchase merchandise on account from in our accounts payable ledger. First one we have is Cornucopia. Again, I'm getting this information from page 304 under application problem 12-1. Inc. Tab it over, vendor number is 210. It does have a balance, 2014. We are using the month of October. One has a balance. Again, we're going to fill this with black. All of our accounts payable carry a credit balance. So we're going to put the credit of $30.90. Actually, we're going to put it right here for a balance. Now watch real close. I'm going to make this real easy for you guys. I want you to delete everything from here down. So from A14, kind of scroll your mouse down or select all this, and let's hit delete. Now watch what I want to do. We're going to make this real simple for you. First of all, let's go ahead and change this yellow, bold, make it a little bit bigger. Let's put the vendor number, make it a little bit bigger. Let's bold that too. Let's put our formula in. Again, let's put our formula in. It's going to be this box right here. We're going to put equals, since it carries a credit balance. Click that cell, plus our credits minus our debits. We hit enter. Come back up to this cell. Let's drag this formula down. And now anything that we enter in here, whether it be a debit or a credit, is either going to subtract it or add it to our total of what we owe this vendor. Now we're going to try to make this real simple for us. We're going to try to copy and paste each of these ledger accounts so that we don't have to continuously format everything every single time. So let's select A2 through I11. Hit Control C. Come down to the line right above it, A14. Hit Control V as in Victor. We'll paste it. Let's do that here as well. Let's come up to A26, Control V. A38, Control V. And let's put one more right here at A50, Control V. Now they're all the same, however, notice that the formulas remain the same. The balance is there. All we have to do is change the name, the vendor number, and put the dates or put the amounts that we need to. So let's go ahead and put healthy foods. Just change the vendor number to 220. They're going to go in order. Our balance, it's always a credit balance, 5064. And it changes those automatically. Let's come down to here. To account number 30 is Nutrition Center. tab it over, 230. Our balance is 0. So let's put 0 in there. Account number 240 is Office Center. Change the vendor number. Trying to make this go as quickly as possible here. Again, the balance is 0. And finally, our last accounts payable account is called Sports Nutrition. Again, these are companies that we buy from, vendors that we buy from, and that we owe money to. There is a balance of $45.12. So we've got everything formatted. Our accounts payable ledger is automatically set up. Pretty simple. Let's go back to our purchases journal, and on the 4th to Nutrition Center on purchase number 78, we 2016. So let's go to Nutrition Center. We're going to come down here. We're going to put for Nutrition Center on the 4th. Post reference is the purchase journal number, which is P10. So we're going to put P10. Anything's going to come out of P10. Carries a normal credit balance. Actually, we purchased on account of 2016. So we're going to record that in the credit. That means that we owe them this money at a certain date. Now it looks like I didn't get these formatted correctly, or maybe the formatting didn't come over correctly. So let's go back and do this. Select just the cells. They're going to have numbers in them. Let's go ahead and format these. Some have balances from the previous month, some do not. Alright, so we've recorded that one. 2016. Cornucopia, 45.84. So let's find Cornucopia. And it was on the 20th. From Purchases Journal 10. 45.84. Even. Let's go to the next one. Sports Nutrition for 5,400. And that was on the 25th. Notice the balance change here. Finally, Healthy Foods for $33.96. This was on the 30th. $33.96. Notice our balance changed. We forgot to write the page number here from Purchases Journal 10. So this is what your application problem should look like. So far with these tabs here, our accounts payable ledger is completed. We've transferred everything from the Purchases Journal to our individual subsidiary ledger accounts. Now let's go ahead and move to 12-2. 12-2, we're taking cash payments journal of just the accounts that we paid back. So again, we're paying these companies back or these vendors back. There's going to be a lot more entries in your cash payments journal, but these are just dealing with the accounts that we owe money to. And then the general journal entry in this is, again, we bought office supplies, which don't get recorded in the purchases journal because they are not, it's not merchandise that we're purchasing on account. These are supplies that we're using within our office. So we're going to take these transactions and we're going to post those to our individual accounts payable ledger accounts. So let's take a look at the first one. On the 9th, we made a payment of $3,090 to Cornucopia. So let's go to Cornucopia. We're going to put on the 9th. We made a payment. This came from the CP10, cash payments, page 10. And the payment was for $3,090. Notice the tally changes for us. Now we only owe them $4,584. Next, Healthy Foods on the 11th, $50.64. Let's find Healthy Foods on the 11th. Again, CP10. This is going to be a debit amount because we're paying them back of $5,064. Again, notice my totals change here. Next transaction, Sports Nutrition on the 15th for $45.12. Sports Nutrition on the 15th. CP10. Payment amount of $45.12. So we're going to debit that. Now we owe them $5,400. Finally, Nutrition Center on the 28th for $2016 or $2016. Nutrition Center on the 28th, we're paying them back CP10, cash payments 10, page 10, 2016. Again, now we owe them no money. We paid them back of what we purchased on account. Again, if you have these formulas set up, it does it automatically for you. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to record the general journal, which is this right here, into these accounts. So we owe Office Center $96. And that transaction came off of General Journal G10, $96 to Office Center. And this was on the 9th. Carried a zero balance already. G10, General Journal, page 10. It's going to be a credit amount of $96. Again, notice the total changes here for our account automatically. Makes it real simple. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put together a schedule of accounts for our accounts payable. This is how this is going to go. First of all, you should have already had the statement file downloaded. So again, if we click this cell right here, hit Control-C or copy, we're going to go into our workbook. Notice we have the accounts payable schedule open. Click this cell. Control-V is in Victor. We'll paste that. We need to center this, and let's go ahead and put Healthy Nutrition, which is the name of the company we're working with. If we come down to the next line here, let's put Schedule of Accounts Payable. And then finally we're going to put the date of October 31st, 2014. Now I do want to make sure that these are all centered and nice and neat. We might want to bold these. Notice how I had to, everything didn't look centered, so I left aligned it and then went back to center. Let's go ahead and bold it. Matter of fact, let's make the company name even bigger, and let's add a color to it, any color. Let's make this red so that we know what it is. It might format the date automatically for you. So let's go ahead and put in the names of our accounts payable. So these are our subsidiary accounts. We have Cornucopia, Healthy Foods, Nutrition Center, Office Center, and Sports Nutrition. And that's what we're going to put in these boxes here. So let's put Cornucopia. Hit enter. And our total. let's go ahead and make sure that these are all left aligned here. And let's go ahead and bold the totals so that we know this is the amount that we're really looking for. So from cornucopia, and what's kind of nice, we could do a little shortcut here. If we put equals, come back to our ledger, go up to cornucopia, and we just select this cell right here. It's going to put that in for us. So equals healthy foods. Let's go to our ledger. Let's get the total. Hit enter. Equals office center. Enter. Finally, sports nutrition. We hit equals. Come back to our ledger. Here's our total. Again, this is what we owe to other companies. Now you're going to wonder why we don't have an account on our schedule for this account right here, Nutrition Center, and it's because it carries a zero balance right now. We paid them off. We don't know, we no longer owe them money. So let's go back to our schedule. Again, we can put in a real quick auto sum. We hit enter, and there's our total. This total amount is going to be recorded in the accounts payable ledger. Let's go ahead and format this with our single rule line. Actually, let's come back down to this cell and let's put top and double bottom border. Okay, we should at least have this double bottom border. Let's make this amount bold. Let's make it, fill this with yellow or something so that we know what our total accounts payable is. This is what we owe at the end of the month. That's 12-2. 12-3, we're taking the sales journal, and now we're switching from accounts payable and we're going to accounts receivable, which is customers that owe us money. So these are the customers that we sell to. They owe us money, hence there's a sales tax involved and the total amount of what they owe us. So let's take a look at the sales journal. These are our accounts here. We're going to come down to accounts receivable. This is the file that you downloaded. Click this cell right here. Hit Control C. Let's go to our workbook. Let's go to our healthy nutrition ledger. Click this cell. Control V or paste. We'll put this all in here. Now you notice these are our customers. So let's start. Let's put Children's Center. Customer number is 110. Next account is Eastman Sports Arena. 120. Next customer that we have is Maple Tree Club. Customer number is 130. And finally, last customer here is Southwest Community Club, 140. Again, these are all of our accounts receivable accounts that we have within Healthy Nutrition. So let's take a look here. On the 6th Southwest Community Club, we had a total sale of $28.32. Our sales tax on the $2,832 is $169.92. Now, if you look at 12-3, this is where I'm receiving that information from, and we're going to need to put balances in for those accounts. So let's start with that. Children's Center had an account balance of $44.16. So let's go to Children's Center. Again, write the date. We're in October. And the 1st, let's put this black. They had a debit balance of $44.16. Now again, we're going to need to format all of these cells. So watch how I do the following. Let's go ahead and again bold this, make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it yellow like our other accounts. Let's make this bold, bigger. like our other accounts, payable accounts. As for the formula, we've got equals this cell plus any debit minus any credit, which would be a payment to that account. Let's run this down so that the formula remains the same. Now, what I did in the previous chapters is I selected A2 through I11, Control C. Let's come down to A14, Control V, A26, Control V, A38, Control V. Now you're going to notice we have to change the names of these again. So let's go ahead and put that in. And finally, you can follow along with the book. It might go a little bit quicker. We need to change the customer numbers as well. And then your balances are just they're gonna change. Eastman Sports carried a debit balance of $22.20. One other thing I forgot again is to format the cells for accounting function. Again, this is going to save you time if you do this. Maple Tree Club carried a balance of $35.28, and Southwest carried a zero balance. So it's going to show up just like this. Pretty much that's 12-3. Let's move on to 12-4. We're going to use the sales journal here to post to our accounts receivable ledger. Actually, we're going to stay with 12-3, not 12-4. So let's take a look at each of our sales that we made on account. Each of these three accounts are going to be affected for each transaction that we have with these companies. So let's take a look at the first one here, Southwest Community Club on the 6th, $3,001.92. Southwest. Southwest is down at the bottom. Again on the 6th. This is coming from Sales Journal 10, page 10 or S10. And the debit amount is $3,001.92. Our balances are automatically there for us. Now I wrote 300,000, so we need to go back and fix that. So there we go. $3,001.92. Next transaction was for $1755.36 in Children's Center. So on the 9th, again from Sales Journal 10, S10, we have a debit amount of $1755.36. It's going to adjust this automatically for us. This is what they now owe us. Eastman 1119.36. This is going to be on the 12th. Again, Sales Journal, page 10, for a debit amount of $1,119.36. Finally, we have Maple Tree Club for $25.44. This was on the 30th. Sales Journal, page 10, for a debit amount of $25.44. Again, it's going to total these automatically for us. So this is what you should have so far as of 12-3. As we move on to 12-4, we have our cash receipts journal, which means that we've now received the money from them, from each of these companies, and we need to record this in the individual subsidiary accounts receivable accounts. So let's take a look. Accounts receivable of 4416. So Children's Center on the 5th paid us $4,416. Again, once you record these in the ledger, you need to go back and put in the journal the account number to prove that you posted it to each individual ledger, and that's really important in the journal. We're not doing that in the application problem quite yet. So again, cash receipts journal means that they've paid us back on the 5th. Children's Center. So let's go to Children's Center. And again, this was on the 5th. They cash receipts journal, page 10. CR10. They credited or paid us back in the amount of $44.16. Changes automatically. Now, at the end of the month, they still owe us $1,755.36. That carries over to the next balance. Eastman Sports on the 14th paid us $22.20. So let's go to Eastman Sports. And on the 14th, cash receipts, page number 10. They credited their amount, $22.20. So now they only owe us $1,119.36. Carries over to the next balance. Maple Tree Club on the 24th, $35.28. So we're going to put the 24th. Cash receipts, page 10. They paid us $35.28. Changes their balance. Okay. Southwest still owes us this amount. Let's take a look at 12-4. Now we've created the accounts payable schedule. We're now going to create the accounts receivable schedule. Let's do this. To make this easy, go to accounts payable schedule, hit this button, Control C. Let's go to our accounts receivable schedule, hit Control V. Now we just need to change the names. Same date. We just need to change the names of our customers here. Children's Center. You can pause this at any time. Again, we're going to need to change this. These are our accounts receivable accounts. Now the formula still remains the same, so now we just need to take what we have in our ledgers. So for example, Children's Center is this. So again, what we can do is go to our schedule here, equals Children's Center. Click that. We can go to this amount, hit equals Eastman Sports Arena. Click that button, hit enter. This is Maple Tree Club. Go back to our ledger. They owe us this. Finally, Southwest equals. Go back to this. There's Southwest Club. Hit that last cell there. And now anytime we make changes in our ledger, it's also going to change automatically in our schedule of accounts receivable. So now, whereas we had an accounts payable schedule, this is what people owe us, or what we owe at the end of the month. Here's what people owe us at the end of the month. And each account is individually kept track of. That takes care of 12-4. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is, now that we have our healthy nutrition accounts payable ledger, all of our listed accounts and the total, our accounts receivable ledger, which is what people owe us, and our schedule of accounts and the total of what people owe us. we're now going to put together our general ledger, which is a list of all of our accounts. Go back to this file here, which is the general ledger file. And again, we're going to come up here, select this cell, hit Control C. We're going to go into our general ledger for healthy nutrition, hit Control V. Now this only gives us 4 accounts. So I'm going to come down to A54. I'm going to hit Control V again. Maybe not. Actually, what we'll do is we'll copy and paste all of these cells. So A1 through, select these cells, A1 through J51, hit Control C. A54, Control V, and that'll give us 4 more accounts. And we're going to go to A107, Control V is going to give us 4 more accounts. So now we have 12 general ledger accounts. We're going to need to format all of these. This is coming from page 305, application problem 12-5. The first account we have is cash. Account number is 1110. All asset accounts start with 1. Next account is accounts receivable. Account number is 1130, another asset account. But let's go ahead and go back up here and do this first. Let's go ahead and bold this, make the font bigger. We added the formatting of the cell. Let's make this bigger. Let's format this as bold. Let's go ahead and put the date in. Now we're going to start with November, so it's the next month. We're going to put the first, we're going to put a balance, and we're going to fill this with black so that we know not to post anything. Any asset account always carries a normal debit balance, and our debit balance is $21,960. $21,960. Now let's go ahead and do this. Format our cells, and let's try to make this a little bit easier on ourselves. Let's go ahead and put the formula. Actually, we're going to hold off on the formula. So now we have everything formatted. Let's select A2 through J12. Control C. Let's go up to A15. Control V. Let's go to this one. Control V. Control V. Control V. Control V. Control V. Control V. I'm going to do this for all of them. That way everything's formatted. I don't have to continuously change anything. And there's our last one. Now they're all named cash and they're all of the same balance. However, now we're just going to put in the different names. So we have accounts receivable. Again, the account number is 1130. We have a balance here of $84.20 and 64 cents. Next account we have is supplies office, another asset account. Get the cap locks on here. Account number is 1150. So we do have other asset accounts within these. Next one is prepaid insurance. Account number is 1170. Accounts payable. Now we get into our liabilities. So this should be labeled with a 2 number, which it is, 2110. It's not going to carry a normal debit balance, though. It's going to carry a normal credit balance. Let's go back up to our supplies office. It carries a balance of $44.16. Our prepaid insurance carries a balance of $18.70. This is from the previous month. We can delete this because we know accounts payable is a liability. It carries a normal credit balance of $15,396. Again, this is coming off page 305, but everything is done for us. Next account is sales tax payable. Account number is 2120. Again, another liability account labeled with a 2. Carries a normal credit balance since it's a liability. Of 1615.20. Next account we have is sales, which is a sales account in itself. 3,000s are owner's equity accounts. 4,000s are sales accounts. $206,000 and 904. Oops, account number first. 4110. Sales account carries a normal credit balance. So again, this is $206,000, 904, even. Everything fits. Next account in our general ledger is purchases. Purchases was a normal debit balance of $115,800. And finally, rent expense. So we should have 9 in total. All expense accounts are labeled with starting with a 5. I'm sorry, starting with a 6. Purchases account starts with 5. 5110. And finally, rent expense. All expenses start with a 6. 6160. And again, they carry a normal debit balance as well. We can delete the rest because we don't have any other accounts, but we needed 9 total, so we might want to go through and just delete the rest of these in our general ledger. That's all of them. So our rent expense, first of all, our rent expense account number, here we go, I'm on the wrong one, carries a normal debit balance of $12,000. Most likely that's what we're paying per month, $12,000, just to rent the place out, to do our business. So we do have all of our balances into our general ledger. Now there's more accounts involved in your general ledger, but for the application problem, we have an asset account. Actually, we have multiple asset accounts. We have our liability accounts, which is the total of our balance. Actually, this should be the same amount. We have our sales account, purchases account, and our expenses account. Everything's pretty much covered here. Next thing we need to do is post our cash payments totals, and actually our cash payments transactions that have happened during that month, and also our general journal transaction into our healthy nutrition workbook that we have here. So let's take a look at the cash payments journal first. Cash payments of rent expense, $1,200. General debit, cash credit of $1,200. expense here. And this happened on the 1st. Post reference was CP11. So we're going to put CP11. Debit amount of $1,200. Now again, we're going to want to set up a formula, so equals this plus this minus this. And there we go. That should be our rent expense general ledger account for the month. Let's take a look at the next transaction here. Prepaid insurance of $14.40. Again, we're recording general debit and credit columns into our ledgers. We're not going to worry about cash right now because we're just going to post the total. We don't need to post cash credit individually. Just these general debit and credit columns. So prepaid insurance. Don't forget we're going to post record the account number 6160, which we got from right here in our general ledger. To prove that we posted this to our ledger, we're going to want to post it to our journal. And that's something that you don't need to do, but that's something that you need to remember. On the second, prepaid insurance, $14.40. So let's go to prepaid insurance, which is an asset. And this happened on the 2nd. This again came from Cash Payments Journal, page 11, so CP11. And we have a debit of $14.40. Again, we're going to set up a formula equals this plus this minus this equals, and then we can drag this down to continue our formula. And we should have done that on the expenses ledger as well. So let's go back down here, drag that down. There we go. Next transaction on the 15th, sales tax payable of $16.15.20. Again, this is a liability, so we're going to go back to our general ledger and our sales tax payable, and this was recorded on the 15th from, again, Cash Payments Journal, page 11, 16, 15, and 20 cents. Now, this carries a normal credit balance because it is a liability, so what we need to do with the formula is equals this plus credits minus any debits, which are payments, which leaves us a balance of 0. Okay, so we've paid our sales tax to the government halfway through the month. Leaves us with a 0 balance. Finally, let's go down to the general journal here. We bought office supplies on account from Office Center. Again, don't forget to record the general ledger account number 2120 from sales tax payable into your journal to finalize that step. So let's take a look at this. Supplies office, we debited $125. So let's go to supplies office, which is an asset. And this occurred on the 28th, which again we're getting off the journal here. On the 28th, $125. We got it from G11. Page 11 of the general journal, and we're going to debit the amount of $125. We received more supplies. Again, we're going to put equal. This carries a normal debit balance because it is an asset. Take our total plus our debits minus our credits. Always going to carry a normal debit balance. Let's take a look at accounts payable Office Center. Since this is in the general journal, we also have to record this. We're not just going to record the total. So we're going to come down to our accounts payable, and we're going to put in the 28th. It's the same transaction. We're going to put G11. this was a credit of $125, so we owe them at a later date. So we already owed them $15,396. Now we owe them more, plus our credit, minus any debits. Again, it's a liability, so it carries a normal credit balance. So we're going to subtract debits of what we owe them, but anything that's credited, it adds on to what we owe them. Final step, 12-6, we're actually going to post the totals, which I've already given for you in the journals. We're going to post from the cash payments journal, from the sales journal totals, purchases journal totals, and the cash receipts totals of our journals to our general ledgers. So you might want to push pause again to record this portion of the assignment. We're going to go back to our healthy nutrition general ledger, and we're going to post our general ledger totals from our journals to these general ledger accounts. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is, again, I'm looking at 12-6 on page 305, and it says post the totals of the special columns of the sales, purchases, cash receipts, and cash payments journal. So let's start with the sales journal. Sales journal is here. Our totals in the accounts receivable debit are $92.62.28. And again, once we're finished, we're going to come back and put the general ledger account number underneath the total to prove that we posted the total to the general ledger. So let's go to our sales. Actually, let's go to our accounts receivable debit. Accounts receivable is an asset, so it's going to be near the top. And we're going to put the 30th. It's coming from sales journal, page 11, which again is right up here. I'm going to put the debit amount of $92.62.28. Again, we're going to have to put a formula in here, equals normal debit balance plus this minus this. Okay, so that's what we should have so far. Next transaction is sales credit of $87.38. So we're going to go to $87.38 under sales, and on the 30th, from the sales is sales journal, page 11, credit of $87.38. Again, we're going to have to put the total formula in here, equals this plus credits minus any debits. And again, we can run this formula down. Next transaction is sales tax payable of $524.28. Sales tax payable on the 30th. Again, sales journal, page 11. Debit amount of $524.28. Again, if we set up the formula and we drag this down, we already set up the formula previously. Now here's what we owe to the state. Next transaction is, so that's from the sales journal to our general ledger. The next journal we're going to do is purchases journal, which is right here, and it's purchases debit and accounts payable credit. Again, this is purchased merchandise on account. Sales journal is we made a sale on account. If our customers paid cash, it'd be in the cash receipts journal. 16/165/80. Let's go to our purchases general ledger first, and let's go ahead and put the 30th. This is our total. This is coming from our purchases journal, page 11, P11. Again, that's coming from right here, P11. $16,165.80. Again, we're going to have to put in the formula. Equals this plus any debits minus any credits. Run this down. Always keep a running track of our totals. Finally, accounts payable credit of the same amount. So let's go down to accounts payable. It's right here on the 30th. Purchases journal, page 11. And we should have a credit of $16,165.80. Again, we already have the formula in here, so if we just drag this down, it keeps a running total for us. So this is what we owe currently. The last journal is the cash receipts journal. So we're going to have to go to accounts receivable credit and record the total of $84,20.64. Again, this comes from cash receipts journal, page 11. Cut us a step here. So on the 30th, cash receipts, page 11. And we received $84,20.64. And again, we have to run the formula down. But notice that it changes our formula, or changes our total. Next column is the sales credit of $20,520. So let's go to our sales. On the 30th, this again was the cash receipts journal, page 11. Debit of $16,165.80. And notice that it changes our totals. Actually, sales credit of $20.52. That's my fault. It should be credited $20.52. $20,520. There we go. So this should be our total, $236,162. Next column we're going to record is the sales tax payable of $1,231.20. It's a credit. Sales tax payable under the 30th. Again, it was cash receipts journal, page 11. $1231.20. This should be our total of what we owe the state at the end of the month for sales tax. Finally, out of the cash receipts journal is our cash debit. This is what we received in cash, $30,171.84. Again, once finished, come back and record the general ledger account numbers underneath the totals of the cash receipts journal, purchases journal, sales journal, and you see those here. That proves that we posted those. So $30,171.84 under cash debit. We know cash is all the way at the top here. So on the 30th, cash receipts journal, CR11, we received a debit of $30,171.84. Again, to get our formula, equals the balance plus any debits minus any credits. Okay, that's the amount that we should have at this time. Okay, going on to the last of the journals here. Next journal is the cash payments journal totals. So we have, and it's only the the special columns. We already recorded these amounts, so we have even though we totaled them. So we have accounts payable debit of $14,682. So we're going to go to our accounts payable, and again on the 30th, from the cash payments journal, page 11, we have a debit amount of $14,682. Notice that your amount changed. Your total should be $17,004.80. Cash payments journal cash credit is $20,743. So we're going to go up to cash on the 30th. CP11, cash payment. Of course, it's going to be a credit, and the credit amount for this is $20,734 even. Now again, we're going to have to run this formula down. That's the amount you should get. Actually, this is $20,743. That's the amount you should get. So from what you have right now, you should have these exact amounts in your general ledger with the totals running, with the formulas in, formatted just like I have it. Now these blank ones, you can delete them or do whatever you want with them. We'll actually have more accounts in our general ledger. Again, you should also have down here at the bottom the accounts payable subsidiary ledgers. These are vendors that we owe. Here's our total amount. Of what we owe. Accounts receivable ledgers, and the amount of what someone else owes us. Now again, this was at the end of October, and we started our general ledger at the beginning of November, so we took the balances of each account and we put those in automatically. So this is what you should have exactly like this. The colors might be different, the formatting might be a little bit different, but you should have all of the formulas in and run down. You might want to pause this at some points just to double check and make sure that you have everything put in accordingly. But I will be checking the formulas as I grade your assignments. This is all of the application problems, so we just did this in about, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes. Make sure that you save this to your H drive. In probably your accounting folder. Name this, you know, if you haven't already, have a chapter 12 folder in here. Name this application problems. Healthy nutrition. Put your initials at the end of it and hit save. That's it for the application problems. You might want to go through this a couple times. This was a good review as well. So if you have any questions, let me know. Email me or get a hold of me before or after school.